Welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be, well, diving into the world of a fascinating comic strip character, Biffo the Bear.
A bear.
Yeah, you might be thinking a bear, but trust me, Biffo's story, well, it's anything but ordinary.
It really is.
We've got a whole bunch of sources here, everything from articles to actual comic strips,
Oh, wow.
and we're going to uncover his history, his unique style of humor, and why he's remained, well, a beloved figure in British comics for over 70 years.
Mm.
Are you ready to meet a bear who can, I don't know, rock a busking gig? A&D, a spacesuit.
Oh, absolutely. I'm ready for this.
Okay, so where do we even begin with a character like Biffo?
Well, I think what's immediately striking is just how much Biffo embodies the evolution of British comics, He pops up in 1948, right in that post-war period,
Hmm.
and his journey, it really mirrors the shifts in humor, art style, and even the changing role of animals in media.
So let's break that down a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to start with Biffo's creator, right?
Absolutely.
Dang.
Dudley D. Watkins. Now, this guy, he was already a legend, known for creating, well, iconic characters like Or Wooly for the Dandy.
Oh, yeah, classic.
And what's fascinating is that he was also drawing other Beano strips simultaneously, like Lord Snooty.
Really?
Talk about a busy artist.
It makes you wonder how he even had time to sleep, let alone create something as unique as Biffo.
Right.
So what was it about Biffo that stood out right from the start?
Well, one thing that jumps out from the sources is that Biffo was, well, he was designed to be monochrome,
Monochrome.
specifically to pop on the cover of the Beano.
Interesting.
Apparently, the comics creator, Artie Lowe, believed this would make him instantly recognizable.
And it worked.
Oh, it absolutely worked.
Biffo became the cover star for, what, years?
Years and
It's
years.
funny how you mentioned Biffo reflecting the changing role of animals in media. I mean,
Right.
was his creation connected to the whole popularity of these anthropomorphic characters at the time? Like, was that a thing?
Oh, there's definitely a connection. We see this trend all over post-war media,
Mm.
animals taking on human roles, often in like comedic situations.
Right.
It makes you wonder if it was like a form of escapism for audiences, a way to process the complexities of the world through a simpler lens.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
And it's even more intriguing when you think about the fact that Biffo rarely speaks. Most of his strips, they have no speech bubbles at all.
It's true.
It's almost like he's inviting the reader to participate in the joke,
Yeah.
to fill in the blanks with their own imagination.
Exactly. It's this silent visual humor that really sets Biffo apart.
And it obviously worked. He was incredibly popular. So what kind of antics was this silent bear getting up to?
Oh, his stories were all over the place, which I think adds to his charm, He'd run cafes, work at the zoo, even enter kite flying contests.
Wait, a bear running a cafe?
A bear running a cafe.
That's hilarious.
The sources paint him as this jack of all trades, always up for a new challenge, no matter how absurd.
So his world was like a blend of the everyday and the totally surreal.
Exactly.
It's interesting, this whole idea that he's a bear doing all these very human things.
Yeah.
It goes back to that idea of anthropomorphism we were talking about, right?
Absolutely. Biffo wasn't just a bear. He was a reflection of ourselves,
Yeah.
Our desires, our ambitions,
Mhm.
just played out in this more, I don't know, outlandish, humorous way.
And all of this is happening in a world without words, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it.
I know, right?
Did his silent humor ever play on those themes of anthropomorphism? Like, of animals mimicking human behavior?
Definitely. There's this one classic Biffo gag where he tries to rig a snowball fight by hiding extra snowballs in his boxing gloves.
Oh, no.
It's a perfect example of how much can be conveyed without a single word. You can practically see the mischievous glint in his eye,
Oh, I could totally picture that.
that sly grin on his face.
It's that ability to express so much through visuals that makes his humor so timeless, I think.
I agree, and I think it speaks to the power of visual storytelling in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that transcends language barriers, cultural differences.
Yeah, a funny image is a funny image no matter where you're from.
Exactly.
So we have this incredibly popular, visually driven character capturing the imaginations of Beano readers.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next in Biffo's story? Like, how does he evolve from there?
Well, like any character with longevity, Biffo went through a number of transformations over the years. His art style evolved, reflecting the changing trends in comics,
Mm-hmm.
and his story shifted as well, moving from more detailed adventures to these silent, almost surreal situations.
The sources mention that he eventually gets a human sidekick named Buster.
Oh, yeah, Buster.
How did that change the dynamic of the strip? Did Biffo start talking more?
Now, that's a great question. I'm curious about that myself.
Yeah, did Buster become a sort of translator for his silent antics?
Maybe.
Or did they just get into even more mischief together?
Probably a bit of both.
Right. I guess we'll have to dig a little deeper into the sources to find out.
I'm excited to.
But before we do, I want to pause here for a moment. For those of you listening,
Yes.
what's standing out to you so far about Biffo? Like, what intrigues you most about this silent, mischievous bear?
I mean, it's fascinating to think about how the addition of a character like Buster might have changed the whole dynamic of the strip.
Right. Like, did it make Biffo's silent humor even funnier?
Yeah.
Having someone there to kind of react to his antics?
Yeah, like a foil.
Yeah. And it wasn't just new characters that shaped Biffo's journey.
Right.
After Dudley D. Watkins passed away, other artists took over. Guys like David Sutherland and Jimmy Glenn.
Oh, wow.
That must have been a challenge. I mean, trying to maintain that essence of Biffo while bringing their own styles to the strip.
It definitely wasn't easy. But the sources highlight how these artists managed to stay true to Biffo's core personality while adding their own touches,
Yeah.
Sutherland, known for the Bash Street Kids, he brought this more energetic, almost chaotic feel to the strip.
Yeah, I could see that.
While Glenn, who had a slightly more like cartoony style,
Okay.
he emphasized Biffo's expressive features, making his silent reactions even funnier.
So even though the artist changed, Biffo remained, well, Biffo.
Exactly. And that speaks to the strength of the character, He was more than just lines on a page.
Mm.
He had a personality that transcended the individual artist's style.
Okay, but we can't talk about the Beano without mentioning the elephant, or rather the menace in the room.
Dennis.
Yes, Dennis the Menace.
He eventually takes over as the Beano's cover star, which is a fascinating turn of events,
It is.
It's almost like this classic tale of the new generation kind of surpassing the old guard.
It's true.
But what happened to Biffo? Like, did he just fade into obscurity? Not at all. In fact, one of the sources mentions that he continued to appear in the Beano. He even got a revival in the 80s.
Really?
And he pops up in special issues as recently as 2019.
Wow, talk about staying power. What do you think it is about Biffo that allowed him to endure even after he wasn't the main attraction anymore?
I think it's a combination of factors, his silent humor, it's timeless, his antics are relatable, and there's a certain charm to his design.
Yeah, he's simple.
He's iconic, instantly recognizable.
You see that black and white bear, and
You know it's Biffo.
it's Biffo. And it's interesting how he was originally designed to be monochrome to stand out on the cover.
Right.
But that black and white design has become like a key part of his identity.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the impact of smart visual design.
Mm-hmm.
But his enduring appeal, it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
Biffo also tapped into something universal, a kind of, innocent mischief that resonates with readers of all ages.
It's true. And speaking of reaching different audiences, the sources mention some interesting bits about Biffo's, like appearances outside of the Beano.
Oh, yeah.
There were spin-off stories in the Magic comic featuring his nephews, Cuddly and Dudley.
Ah.
And those pocket-sized twinkle books from the 80s?
Yeah.
Those sound adorable.
They were.
It's fascinating how a character can kind of branch out like that, appealing to different age groups while still retaining its core identity.
It is.
Biffo was clearly more than just a one-trick bear.
He
It was
was.
a whole franchise. I came across a source that mentioned Biffo, get this, leading a band of retired Beano characters on a mission to restore the comic to its former glory.
Oh, wow.
He was like a retro revolutionary.
That's a great way to put it. It's as though he became a symbol of the Beano's own legacy,
Yeah.
a link to its past.
Makes you wonder if there was a bit of like meta commentary going on there.
Yeah.
With these older characters kind of fighting to remain relevant in a changing world.
Mm.
But I have to ask about this Nick Park connection I saw in the sources.
Oh, yes.
Apparently, for the Beano's 70th anniversary, Nick Park, the creator of Wallace and Gromit, guest edited an issue.
He did.
And in that issue, Biffo Zoo was, well, it was filled with animals that resembled characters from Park's Creature Comforts.
It's a delightful little crossover.
It is. It really speaks to Biffo's enduring presence in British comic culture.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how he can interact with other icons like that, both within and beyond the pages of the Beano.
Yeah.
So after decades of silent gags, job hopping, and even a bit of time travel, what can we say about Biffo's legacy? Like, why do you think a character like this resonates with people for so long?
I think it's because Biffo, despite being a bear who rarely speaks, manages to tap into something very human, you know?
Hmm.
He represents this kind of innocent mischief, a playful spirit that we all connect with regardless of age.
It's true.
His humor is timeless, his design is iconic, and his ability to adapt to different situations, it's truly remarkable.
He's a reminder that sometimes the simplest things are the most enduring. You know,
I agree.
a funny face, a clever gag, and a character who always bounces back no matter what challenges he faces.
Exactly. Biffo's a survivor, a symbol of resilience and adaptability.
She?
He's proof that even in a world that's constantly changing, there's always room for a good laugh, a bit of mischief,
Hmm.
and a bear who never says a word.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So for our listener today, what would you say is the most important thing to understand about Biffo? What makes him so special?
I think it's the fact that Biffo, in his own silent way, reminds us of the power of imagination. You know, he invites us to fill in the blanks, to create our own stories, to
Mhm.
find the humor in the everyday and the absurd.
Yeah.
He's a blank canvas onto which we can project our own sense of fun and wonder.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. You know,
Yeah.
it's that invitation to participate, to kind of become a part of Biffo's world
Yeah.
that makes him so engaging. You're not just passively reading a comic strip. You're actively creating the experience along with the artist.
Precisely.
And in a world that can, often feel overwhelming, Biffo offers this kind of, I don't know, simplicity, a reminder that joy can be found in the most unexpected places.
Right. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. He's proof that you don't need like fancy words or elaborate plots to create something truly memorable.
Yeah.
Sometimes all you need is a well-timed gag,
Uh-huh.
a mischievous grin,
And a whole lot of heart.
and a whole lot of heart.
Yeah.
And perhaps a pair of boxing gloves filled with snowballs.
Uh-huh. Always.
Never underestimate the power of a strategically placed snowball.
Right.
But
Right.
speaking of power, what do you think Biffo's enduring popularity, what does it say about the power of silent humor, of visual storytelling in general?
I think it demonstrates that humor can transcend language and cultural barriers.
Mm-hmm.
A funny image, it's a funny image no matter where you're from. And Biffo, with his expressive face and physical antics, he taps into that universal language of laughter.
It's a reminder that we don't always need words to connect, to share a moment of joy. you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes a simple gesture,
Mm-hmm.
a well-timed pratfall
Pratfall.
can speak volumes.
Absolutely. And in a world that's increasingly dominated by, I don't know, text and technology, Biffo's
Ah.
silent humor, it offers this refreshing alternative, a reminder to slow down, pay attention to the details, and appreciate the beauty of visual storytelling.
He's like this little ambassador for the power of observation,
Mm-hmm.
encouraging us to see the world with fresh eyes,
Mhm.
and to find the humor in the everyday.
And that's a message worth celebrating, don't you think?
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Biffo the Bear,
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage you, dear listener, to seek out some of his comic strips. Experience his unique brand of humor for yourself. You might be surprised at how much you enjoy his silent antics and the clever ways he uses visual storytelling to create laughter.
Yeah.
And who knows, you might even find yourself making some of those classic Biffo noises we talked about earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember a good when things go wrong.
Right.
A hearty yippee for when you discover something exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a triumphant Biffo
Mm-hmm.
for when you achieve something truly awesome.
Yes.
Those are words to live by. So stay curious, keep exploring the world of comics, and never underestimate the power of a silent bear with a knack for mischief. Until next time, happy reading.